African Americans wanting to boycott African places, or Black Americans, please. God forbid you say African Americans to some of them. Wanting to, I'm like, is this what we're focusing our energy on? Not boycotting all of the huge corporations in America. No, you have no problems with any of them and all of the bias and all of the hateful things that they do against Black and brown people. But you're boycotting little mom and pop African plate people who are just trying to make a living just like you.
Is that what boycotting African is?
Yeah, well, right now there's this thing on August 1st, I believe it is, for them to boycott all the African braiding shops and African businesses. There's like a whole anti-African thing, and it's mostly those, not for nothing. I really can't stand them. I have no patience for them. But it's the one who identify as FBA or ASOS, saying that they didn't come from Africa and that the reason that Black communities in America tend to be, poorer and lower economic is because we believe we came from Africa, but all the Black people in the world came from the Americas. I think it has to do with generational trauma and self-hate, because it really is, because Black people in America has been seen as such a negative thing, and they've always been, marginalized and all that. So they will just cling on to anything or anyone who gets on a soapbox and says that they're not from Africa, so that they don't have to identify with this thing that American media and American society has told them is a bad thing.
I want to ask you this question, if you know, because I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I'm very unaware. You're the first one giving me the news. So, Black Americans boycotting African businesses. Why, in your opinion, or if you know the facts, why did it start? How did it start?
The FBA, so the Foundational Black Americans, who are descendants of slavery.
I heard a lot of Black Americans talk about delineating. I've been hearing it for a while now. And in the manner or in the form that they have expressed delineating, from what I understood, it didn't seem that it came from a place of hate and harm against other Black people. It came from a place of, hey, just like the Dominicans say we're Dominicans, just like the Jamaicans say we're Jamaicans. Yeah, we're Black racially, all of us, but just like they have their own ethnic identity, and they also have their own sense of community. If they come to this country, they stick together as a people. If Panamanians come to this country, they stick together as a people, etc. I think that that's the way that they meant by delineating. It's like, look, we want to do for ourselves in this country. We've been here in this country, putting all this work, and we have our own identity, and we also want to do for ourselves and our own community, just like other Black people come here. And I will say this, and I have to be objective. I myself have noticed how other Black people of Latin American countries do come to this country, and they do have a negative connotation or expectations, a negative outlook when it comes to the Black American. It's almost like before they even met a Black American, they already had a negative stereotype expectation of them. And it's not to the fault of either or, it's the fault of the media that's pushed this type of propaganda in Latin American countries, which have pushed anti-Black American propaganda in these countries, and therefore we already programmed into thinking that Black Americans are a certain way before we even come to this country. And so when we come to this country from Latin America, me being somebody that comes from a Latin American country, we already had negative expectations of Black Americans before we got here. So I understand, and I've heard it plenty every time that I see Black people of Latin American countries. They come here and they do have negative opinions about Black people before they even meet one. A good example, and I'm only going to give this particular example because I have the video here somewhere in my TikTok as a receipt. I had a Dominican dude, a Black dude, right? He came in here and he started expressing, Ricardo, the reason why we're not Black and we're Dominican is because the Black people in the US, they're very different than us. And I said, can you please tell me how so? And he said something along the lines of this, and it disproves my point, really. He said, because the Black people in this country, all they do is get unemployment check, and all they do is smoke pot. So all the negative stereotypes, he literally started naming them. And you could see my video's right there, okay? And that's when I realized, you see, these people these people, and I include myself in these people because I come from Latin America too. These people, we come from Latin American countries, and we already have a negative opinion about Black Americans. And you know what's crazy? We don't even have negative opinions about other people in this country. Not about Indians, not about Asians, not about white people, not about any other people. We only have negative opinions about Black Americans specifically.
Yeah,
That
I mean, like I said, I believe Caribbeans used to. I think for some reason the Caribbean is. I think maybe it's because there's so many people that go back and forth because the Caribbean is closer. People go back and forth a lot. That I feel like it's disappearing with this generation. Like I said, my parents' generation, even my generation, I would say people used to. But I find the younger people. I was in a live yesterday with all Caribbean people. They respect African American history, African American culture for the most. Look, there's always going to be a few exceptions and some loony bins out there, but for the most part, and I think the difference is between other Caribbean people and say Dominicans especially is we embrace our blackness as well as Dominicans, saying that there's a difference in how they look and how we look and all this stuff. I'm like, are you friggin' nuts? I'm walking down the street. I'm sorry. People see a black person. They don't know that I'm Caribbean. They don't know anything. I'm walking down the street, black, especially in the Americas, between the black people in the Caribbean and as well as Latin America and the United States. We are all mixed peoples due to the history of colonization and slavery. So therefore, we all have similar mixes. Like Dominicans act like they are the only ethnically mixed people in the Caribbean when it's ridiculous. Okay, I'm black. I am part Indian, East Indian. I am part. My grandmother's father was a Jew from France. So Jewish, white, whatever you want to call them. I mean, most people in the Caribbean have some kind of mixture, and but yet, even if they are what we call a Dougla, which is someone who's half black and half Indian, East Indian, they won't. You call them black, they're not going to get offended. They're not going to deny their no. I'm not like a black like they're the only ones who have that, I don't know, disease of the mind.
I've never met a person that's FBA in real life. My contention with them is that I completely understand wanting to preserve African American culture because that is something that has been stripped away from us since we were taken from the continent of Africa. And we've always had to, reinvent ourselves, every time it gets appropriated by YT people around here. But I think that it's possible and it's okay for Black American people to hold tight to their culture, but also not demean anybody else. And that's the part that I don't like because that's the part where they start to play into and use YT supremacist talking points or harmful talking points, right? I had a discussion with them one time before. This group was their, I mean, their presence is intense online, but I wanted to understand. And I think the frustrating part was that there is a lot of passion there. And I think that's wonderful. But a lot of it is also directed towards people that don't have any control over our circumstances. It's like Black people coming over here from other countries. There's Black people that have been born and raised. They do have a lineage to chattel slavery here in America, and they're problematic as well. I think what it really comes down to is how much education you have, how much time you've put into like deconstructing and decolonizing, and you'll see the difference. I think it's fine for us to defend our culture and everything like that, but like I can't let myself in with FBA. A lot of them did vote for Trump, not all, but a lot did. And I know that reparations is a very, very, that's like one of the main things. And I think that they don't want anybody else to come into the US and possibly get reparations that they want access to, if that makes sense. And rightfully so, rightfully so. I just don't think that demeaning people has to take place in order for them to do that, if that makes sense. I was born here. My mom, Puerto Rico, my dad, he was born here too, but ancestry would be Nigerian.
Gotcha.
The part for me that gets confusing is the minute I brought up my mother's side of the family and I talked about where she came from, it was all of a sudden, yeah, you're an op. You can't be around us. You're a tether, as they say. being called a tether or being written off out the gate because my mom's from another country is pretty wild.
What is a tether?
Supposed to be somebody who comes to the US and they want to like involve themselves like in higher up positions, but they're not putting Black Americans people's like interests and priorities first. So they get upset about that. And they think that, they're taking things away from people. The part that I don't understand about that, though, is that when all Black people in America, whether you're from another country or not, when you're going into some white establishment or you're going to talk to, a group of white people, they don't necessarily see that difference. I think that that's more so what it is that somebody's coming here from another country and possibly going to intervene with what it is that they have access to.
So this tether thing, does it only apply to Black demographics coming from other countries, or does this apply to any race?
See, that I don't know. I'm not sure. That's a good question. I've
Okay.
never asked them about that. And usually when I'm in those conversations with them, there's no white people present. So
Okay, well,
I'm really
there's a
not sure.
reason why I ask, because every single time that I've seen Black Americans call somebody a tether is always a Black person that's not from the U.S. I've never seen a Black American use the word tether against any other race of people, only other Black people that come from Latin America, Africa, etc.
Yeah, I think that for me, I don't have an issue with people that are FBA. I just think that for me, I don't think it's necessarily like productive to like be xenophobic towards other people. And that's not something that only FBA is guilty of, right?
So the reason I came up because I heard the young lady answer a question that you asked her about the meaning of tether.
Ah, thank you. Yes, please, please.
Okay. A tether is a melanated immigrant who come over to the United States that goes against all Black Americans, history, movements, lineage, causes, politics, everything Black American. They are the people that say we don't have a culture. They are the people who lie about their success and take challenge to us. Not all Black immigrants are tethers, but all tethers are Black immigrants.
I got you. So practically,
It's
it's
more like a sleeping cell in the community.
right. It's like your own race of people that come here and in a way are against other Black, in this particular case, Black Americans
Us.
interest.
Yes.
Sure.
They
Okay.
are the people that talk against our reparation.
Sure. The people who if they could vote something against you, they
Not
will.
only vote, they say they stand up in the politician and they say they're gonna remove Black History Month. They stand up in the politician, they say that we shouldn't get reparation, we are lazy. They stand up in the they stand up and make think videos. Like, I seen yours for years. Make videos and speak against we don't have a culture. We don't know who we are. We are the original Africans. You're not American. They say all this and now they playing victim.
Okay.
Or now they saying because we haven't, as a community, we're a community of grace and love. We have never harmed any immigrant in the United States, legally, illegally. We fought for immigration rights. And for so many people, it's over 100 million that come against our reparation, everything that we have done, just to try to break down our bloodline. We have to speak against it right now. It's harmful to our children. It's harmful to our community. I seen your videos trying to uplift our community or take an understanding, but they're not trying to take an understanding like you was trying to find out an understanding.